Hi guys! In this video I will show you how you can manage the Docker networks. So Docker also lets you create your own network configurations to use on your Docker containers. So Docker will allow you to create different virtual networks for your needs or segment different containers in the network. This way we can create containers in multiple networks or connect their services with each other. So this is a very good way to map the containers in the way that you like and define networks which would include a specific container configuration and connections there. So let's see how you can create networks on your own. Now to do that, you can use the option Docker network. Okay, and here you will see the options that we already talked about, but have a look at the option create. So we haven't used that option yet, and I will show you how you can use it in order to create a network. Let's do now Docker network create. Okay, and let's do -- help. So here you can see the different additions to that option. You can specify the subnet settings, the IP addresses, the driver settings. You have multiple options with which you can experiment. So let's create a bridge network on our own. So we can create our own network for any type of purpose we need. So let's write Docker network create -- subnet, and here we will define the IP. So let's do 10.10.1.0/24, and let's call it DMZ, which comes from demilitarized zone. Okay, let's run that. And you can see now here you're having some code, which means that your network is being created. So if I do now Docker network EOS, you will see that here you have an additional network that is called DMZ. So your network creation was successful. You can also inspect a particular network by Docker network inspect DMZ, and this will give you the subnet mask that we just created. It will give you the name, the type, which is a bridge, the scope, which is local, and a whole bunch of other options that you can control while creating the network. So let's see how you can actually connect a container to that network. In order to connect a container to a network, you should choose the -- network option when you specify which network we want to connect to the container. This should be followed by the name of the network to which we want to add the container to. So let's create a new ng-inx container and put it into our DMZ network. So let's do Docker container run -d -- Docker ng-inx -- network, and let's specify our network DMZ, the one that we created. Okay, and I just missed the image, so in the end, of course, I need to specify the image. So let's do ng-inx. Okay, and you can see that we created our new container. So now let's do Docker network inspect DMZ. Okay, so you will see that when we do this, now we have this container section, and right there is our Docker ng-inx container, which was successfully added to the newly created network by us. So now when a container node is created, it's important to note that those containers can be connected by IP address or hostname. But if the container is actually restarted, new parameters would be generated, such as the ID and the IP address that it uses. So in order to solve this problem within a network, Docker offers functionality of linking one or more containers that allows each time one of the linked containers is restarted, the assigned IP address does not change as it is assigned to the container name. So we will make the IP address in that way static. So I will show you how you can establish links between the containers using the linked system when one container acts as a data source and the other would act as a receiver. So the link will allow the container to communicate with another container without knowing its IP address. So we can do that by specifying the link flag. Now firstly, I will remove the previously created container, and let's write Docker run -d -name, and then docker nginx. Okay, and then let's do nginx. So once we have that container, now we can link another one to it. Let's first clear what we've wrote so far, and then let's create a Linux container and link it to our nginx container. So let's do docker run -it -name ubuntu, and then let's use the -link option, and then docker nginx, which is the name of our nginx container, and then let's specify the Ubuntu image with which we want to create the Ubuntu container. So let's do Ubuntu, and let's use version 20.04, and then let's do bash. Okay, so once you hit enter, now you have your Ubuntu container created and it is up and running. And let's now try to verify that the two containers are connected. So within the container, if you do cat etc/hosts, okay, and by inspecting this file, you can see that on IP address 172.17.02, you have the Docker nginx container with its specific ID, which verifies that the two containers have been connected successfully. So in addition to modifying the hosts file, Docker also creates some environmental variables with information of the other container. The information the Docker makes available using environmental variables includes things such as IP address of the link container and other information. So if I do now set pipe grep -i nginx, you can see that we have multiple entries with the information of the nginx, including both the version, the TCP port, the IP address, and so on. So here we can see all the information of the Docker nginx container that is available in the Ubuntu container, so we can assess and discover the services of the other container using those environmental variables, and this is why we not necessarily need the IP address. So let's try another example. Now if I create a Redis container, so let's do docker run -d -name my Redis, and then let's use the Redis image, okay, and then let's try to connect a Debian distribution to it. So let's do docker run -link my Debian, actually my Redis, and then Debian env. So let's run that, and here, because of the options added, you can see that in this output Docker has configured the environment variables with the Redis port inside, and this is inside specifically into the Debian container that we just created. So Docker also had imported the environmental variables from the linked container into the Redis environment as well. So even though this functionality can be very useful, we should always keep in mind that using environment variables to store secrets such as API tokens or database password can increase the risk of data being exposed. So I hope this was useful for you guys, because now you know in detail how you can connect containers in Docker. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in the next section.